Welcome to today's Q&A. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for joining me here on Tuesday, February 20th. So we are live every Tuesday at noon Central here on our YouTube channel. It's an opportunity for you to ask your questions and get them answered here live, here in person. And as always, the way that this format goes is basically I'll give you some information about some of the company positions and our benefits and our equipment and a little background there. And then of course, stop me at any time by adding in the chat your zip code or your years of experience or whatever it is that you're looking for information on. So go ahead and put that in the chat. Zip codes are helpful, city and states, whatever, and your years of experience. And then I can get more specific on what we have available instead of just giving you randomness all over the place. So you actually get your questions answered. Hey Lance, how are you? Good to see you, sir. How's Best Market area doing? It is a beautiful day up here in Montana. First of all, Decker Truck Line, the main terminal is in Fort Dodge, Iowa. We have a terminal in Montana. We have one in Bessemer there. We've got a terminal in Des Moines, Iowa. Actually, it's a shop in Des Moines. And then the Hammond, Indiana area. We have one in let's see, where am I missing? Minneapolis, Minneapolis. So yeah, it says just bored at work. Working on your motorcycle. Awesome. Hopefully you get a little bit of time to play on that, huh? I found out that my husband was showing me his cousin owns the Big Sky Harley shop out of Bozeman, and he does a lot of custom motorcycles. And what was really cool is his daughter, who is, 18 maybe? 17, 18? She is now doing some customs. Anyways, it was kind of cool. It reminded me of you. Cool. Hope you're having fun. Hey, Riley, how are you? Okay, so let's dive into some of these available positions that we have. The one that I definitely want to give you a heads up on is our Midwest Flatbed. That is a busy division for us right now, but we do have some openings. And if it's something that you're interested in, if you're looking for flatbed but don't have experience, we can train in this position. So this is our Midwest Flatbed division. In most areas of our Midwest that we're hiring for this home weekly, we do have a minimum pay of $1,450. And of course, your rate of pay per mile is based off of your experience. Okay, so there's a difference between the rate of pay per mile and the minimum experience, the minimum pay. The rate of pay per mile, again, is based off your experience level, whereas the minimum pay, that's your safety net. That's your budget. You know what you're going to be getting on a weekly basis with that minimum pay. Whereas the cents per mile, if they are better than what you're getting on the minimum pay, you're going to get the better of the two. The key is to make sure, one of the keys, is to make sure that you are reaching the minimum requirements in order to obtain the minimum pay. And again, that's the safety net. But with the $1,450 having a lot of short loads, you are home weekly, and you're running a more confined area, meaning Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, instead of coast to coast or everything east of Denver. This one's just more localized. It's not local, don't get me wrong. It's more regional, but it is. So it's just in a more confined area. The areas that we are hiring for this position, you do run a little bit outside of it, but for the most part, the hiring area is going to be a reflection of the running area for this Midwest Flatbed division with a minimum of $1,450 per week. And that is going to be from Iowa City, Iowa, down to St. Louis and everything. So I'm going to give you the outline basically, and then picture that outline and everything in between there. And again, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. I'd be happy to answer them. Well, hello, Mr. Tim Holden. How are you? Our repeat of the Highway Angels. Okay, so the $1,450. Iowa City, Iowa, down to St. Louis, Missouri, on over to Columbus, Ohio, north to Toledo, Ohio, back over to Chicago, north to Milwaukee, and then south to Mason City, Iowa, and then Fort Dodge, Iowa, and then, let's close that at back to Iowa City. Everything in between there is within our hiring area for that 1450. The requirements for the 1450 to make sure that you qualify for that on a week-to-week basis are no preventable accidents, okay? No CSA violations, and that's including any CSA violations, including hours of service. So be well aware and make sure that you are logging properly, right? We have the ELDs, of course, in the trucks. All of our equipment is newer model. But okay, no preventable accidents, no CSA violations, no late loads, so no driver service failures. Be available for dispatch at least 5 days out of the week, and no load refusals. That's the other one. No load refusals. And then get your paperwork in on time. 6 requirements, easy peasy. There you go. Those will qualify you for that 1450. But again, if your rate of pay per mile, especially for someone who's experienced, someone like Tim who has well over 15 years of experience, I'm totally throwing your age out there, Tim, or at least your experience. Someone who has several years of experience, and you're at the top of our starting pay for the flatbed division, which would be 70 cents a mile. You get, for someone with that much of experience, if your rate of pay per mile and the miles that you run exceed that 1450, you'll get the better of the two. Now, of course, if you have minimal experience and you just went through training, again, if your rate of pay per mile exceeds that 1450, you'll get the better of the two. But with minimal experience, starting at like 53, 56 cents a mile, you're not as likely to exceed that 1450 as someone with, 15 years of experience. That makes sense, right? Okay. Either way, better of the two. So that's our Midwest Flatbed division. We have more options in our Midwest Flatbed division. So a true over the road, which would be, really anything east of Denver. So we have something that's going to run down into Texas and the Carolinas and Kentucky and Tennessee, so you can run all over. Again, still a lot of the Midwest, Chicago and Iowa and Indiana. Those are all areas that are going to be busy no matter what. But you just kind of open it up into additional areas of the Southeast and the Midwest and maybe even into the North. We don't do a whole lot in the New England states. Every once in a while you might have something in southern New York, but not a whole lot. I'm thinking like Buffalo area. Usually it's just going to be PA and south or towards the Midwest. And then we don't do a whole lot west of Denver for our flatbed division. You're probably not going to see a whole lot of flatbed drivers for our divisions or for Decker out west. We just don't do a whole lot of it. Every once in a while we'll have something, but those are usually assigned to those who run it on a regular basis. That's something that they like to run. We just don't add opportunities on that one. Hey Chuck, how are you? Thanks for joining me again today. So that's our flatbed division. And then of course our over-the-road flatbed division that runs, home every other weekend. That option is available too. That one's usually dispatched out of Bessemer, Alabama. And you're usually living anywhere from Texas to the Carolinas in order to qualify for that one. Again, still a lot of the Midwest running that division. Really the Midwest is going to be strong for our over-the-road refrigerated, our regional refrigerated, our over-the-road flatbed, as well as our Midwest flatbed. It's just a really busy area for us because we're based out of Iowa. We've been here for 90 plus years. You guys, seriously, 90 plus. 1931. So, what else can I tell you about that over-the-road? For the over-the-road division for the flatbed, we do require at least 6 months of flatbed experience. If you don't have those 6 months of flatbed experience but have a year of tractor trailer, we can then train you at that point. But that minimum experience is required at the very least of a year of tractor trailer if you don't have that 6 months of flatbed. Whereas the Midwest division, we can train for that. All right, we'll train in Fort Dodge. Or Fort Dodge is where we have orientation and our training, at least where we start our training, because then you'll go out on the road with a trainer for 2 to 3 weeks. And when you're on the road with a trainer for 2 to 3 weeks, we pay you $700 a week while you're with them. Now, keeping that in mind, even though we do have training opportunities, we are more of an experienced, more elite company. So you'll see a lot of our drivers with 10, 15, 20, 30 years of experience. That's pretty common here at Decker. We're a lot of those drivers who have all of that experience. They're the ones that are doing the training to get those who are inexperienced up to, well, challenging them to get to in a more elite status. Now, we also have our over-the-road refrigerated division. That one's coast to coast, and that one does run the West. We have a terminal in Missoula. I mentioned that one. That's going to be that's our one of our refrigerated terminals. And you'll see a full shop there as well, a truck wash shop, dispatch, driver services. So you've got driver services as well as driver amenities. So you've got private rooms and a common area. You've got washer and dryer and shower facilities, so all laundry facilities, all of that there in Missoula. We also have a designated pet area in Missoula. We have that in Bessemer. We have that in Fort Dodge. Of course, again, Fort Dodge, Iowa is our main terminal, so we have quite a few amenities, as well as the Decker Motel if your truck is in the shop. We have the pet area. We also have the dog washing station at the Fort Dodge shop. That's always nice to have because we have a pet policy it's a dog policy. Dogs 85 pounds or less, they do need to be non-aggressive breeds. We do allow 2 dogs as long as they are no more than 65 pounds combined. And again, non-aggressive breed. So yeah, we've got that, and of course we've got some of the you want to say amenities for it? Yeah, because we've got the dog wash, we've got the play areas, the designated play areas, and of course things like that for the dog. What else can I tell you? Back to the Missoula terminal, like I mentioned, we've got the full shop and amenities there. Speaking of amenities, our trucks are fully equipped. I mean, APUs, refrigerators, microwaves, CB units, 22-inch television with satellite TV. That's company paid. It's Epic View. That's going to include 100 plus channels. Showtime, Cinemax, HBO, Sunday Ticket, all included within the Epic View subscription that we have. Now, we are also equipped with a Sirius radio. However, like all the equipment is there, but you would have to hold that subscription if that's something that you want. If it's not something you want to pay for, don't worry. We have Wi-Fi in our trucks. So you've got access to free Wi-Fi through our TransFlow GeoTab unit. In the truck, you can just log in and stream or what do I want to say? Cast through that. What's the word I want? Anyways, you'll be able to use the free Wi-Fi in the trucks. We have CB units in the trucks, all of them. Most of them are the Cobra 29, I believe. If you're wondering on that, because we do have customers that will communicate that way. Plus, when the roads are bad, it's nice to have that on. If you're going to go through Wyoming there's a few other states, but Wyoming, we all know that one. But it's nice to have that CB unit on, ready for yourself. In our over-the-road refrigerated division, you'll see a lot of Northern Oregon, Portland, Hermiston, Pendleton. We do a lot of I-5, of the I-5 corridor. Now, saying that we do a lot of I-5, we don't currently have a lot of available positions in the I-5 corridor. However, we do still run that. And then of the Seattle area, Tacoma, Washington, the Tri-Cities there in Washington, Spokane, Washington, all really good areas for our over-the-road refrigerated hiring area. And then, of course, Missoula, Montana. Now, if you live in Montana, you do need to leave the tractor and trailer at the Missoula terminal on your home time. That's the only exception there. And then we will we'll take care of a lot of the maintenance and everything while you're on your home time. We figure for our over-the-road refrigerated division, if you're for every 7 days you're out, it's a day and a half home time. And in most hiring areas for the over-the-road refrigerated, you're looking at 2 to 3 days, or excuse me, 2 to 3 weeks out at a time, and then 3 to 4 or more days home on your home time. I think most people take 4 because then you can take advantage of your minimum pay as well as the home time that you earned. So instead of just sitting at 3 days home time, if you do 4, you still are eligible for your minimum pay. Our minimum pay refrigerated, our over-the-road refrigerated, is $1,000. And that, again, your rate of pay per mile, as it exceeds, and the amount of miles you run, as they exceed the minimum pay, you'll get the better of the two every time. Making sure that you're available for dispatch at least 5 days out of the week, no load refusals, no driver service failures, no CSA points, no preventable accidents, and get your paperwork in on time, which the cutoff is on Tuesday nights. And keeping that in mind, when I say being available for dispatch at least 5 days out of the week, with the refrigerated division, it's common to have runs over the weekend, right? Anybody who's done the refrigerated divisions, you're pretty well aware of that. So with the refrigerated division, you want to make sure that you're coming home on a, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at, kind of straddling that cutoff. Remember I said the cutoff is on Tuesday night. So you want to make sure your home time straddles out a little bit on each side of it. That way you're maximizing your minimum pay. You're going to be eligible for that. And you're still getting your home time. So if you are going to take that extra time, you'll be able to make sure that you're getting your minimum pay. For instance, we know that in the trucking industry, there are ups and downs, peaks and valleys for miles, right? So let's say you're out on the road and you have 2,800 miles for week A, all right? And then you're out for 2 to 3 weeks, okay? So you've got 2,800 miles this week. You've got maybe 2,100 miles this other week. Or let's actually, yeah, okay. So 2,100 miles. And this week, you've only got the 2,100. This is the week that you're falling into home time, okay? So you're going to make sure that you're coming home on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere there. So you've got 5 days on each side of that cutoff. So you're still eligible for that minimum pay. Well, this one, maybe you only got 2,100 miles, and maybe that didn't get you over that 1,000 a week. Well, if that's the case, you'll get that minimum pay of 1,000, so you'll still get that 1,000. But then that other week that you did make it over the 1,000 a week, you'll get that rate of pay per mile because you qualified for it. You met all of the requirements for the minimum pay. That might not have been a very good example, seeing as 2,100 miles. For someone who, with our average pay is roughly around 65. So with our average pay, you're over the 1,000 anyway. But and that's the other thing that I should keep in mind. We have these minimum pays to protect you, especially when you've got weather and who knows what else getting in your way. But our rate of pay per mile is usually more than what you're seeing elsewhere. So our rate of pay per mile is anywhere from someone who's brand new to the industry. And I know that we have some training opportunities, but most of our hires are experienced. So we've got someone brand new that's in the 52, 53 cents a mile. 10 cents of that's per diem. And then we've got those who, once you hit the experience level, you're starting at 55 to 56 cents a mile, up to 65 cents a mile in the refrigerated division, or 70 cents a mile in the flatbed division. So you can see that our rate of pay per mile, again, 10 cents of that's per diem. So your take home is going to be more based, having that per diem in there than if it was all taxed. But yes, our rate of pay per mile will most likely exceed that minimum pay. It's nice to have that minimum pay there as a safety net, but it also is nice to see that your efforts will be rewarded the harder you work, the more miles you put in, obviously the more pay you get instead of just topped out at a salary or minimum pay. That's not the case. Hey, George, how are you? You made it. So that's how our pay works. So yeah, the more effort, but not only just the more effort, also the more experience you have. So somebody who has 10 years of experience in the refrigerated division is going to get 65 cents a mile to start, right? So after you've been here for 90 days, you'll get a raise. So you go to 65 to 66 cents a mile, and then you'll get a penny raise every year on your anniversary as well. Currently, we top at 70 cents a mile. That's our cap right now. But you'll see that with those increments and your miles that you're getting, you're going to continue to exceed that minimum pay. So it's there for you. Chuck Myers says, is Lease forced dispatch? No, they are not. And we don't consider our company drivers forced dispatch either. However, one of the qualifications for the minimum pay is that you don't turn down a load. So no load refusals, I should say. No load refusals. So you're not, if you were to refuse a load, you just don't qualify for the minimum pay. We're not encouraging you by any means to refuse a load, because it does throw off basically the whole logistics of it, right? Because we've got our customer service department, we have our driver managers who are working with them, we've got your customer service, your planners, your driver managers, all working behind the scenes to support our professional drivers. And if you do turn down a load, then that throws off, kind of snowballs, and then we have to recover. Because we do like to plan ahead. And even though we might not give you a pre-plan 2 weeks in advance, that doesn't mean that things aren't working in the background to make that happen and making that eligible for you, right? But yeah, so if you were to turn down a load, that's going to affect quite a bit. We have customer contracts. We're over 95% contracted freight. So it's a reassurance for you, both as a lease driver and as a company driver, that we have that. And that's part of the reason that we have those requirements. But as a lease operator, or as a company, or as an owner operator as well, no, there's no forced dispatch. But just keep in mind, when, as a company driver, we're looking to get you the miles, and we're looking to keep you moving. We've got that minimum pay there to protect you. As an owner-operator lease purchase, we don't have that minimum pay to protect you. However, we're looking more for gross revenue for you than we are for miles when it comes to the lease purchase and the owner-operator, because you're paid on a percentage. So 72% of load plus a fuel surcharge. That said, if there are certain areas that you don't want to run, avoid getting into the position where you're like, well, is it forced dispatch or not? If you don't want to run a certain area, let us know. Because we can flat out tell you, if you're saying, oh, I don't want to run Chicago, we're not a good fit. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's be upfront. Chicago's an area we run a lot. Now, if you're saying, I don't want to run New York or the New England states, all right, we can work with that. But we need to know ahead of time so that you're not in a position where you're like, oh, I got that load, I don't want it, give it to somebody else, and then you're turning down loads, and then it kind of, again, snowballs backwards into all of the different departments, and we're like trying to find somebody to get to where you're at in order to almost recover a load. And we don't want that. And that's why you don't see a lot of that. So, no, the answer is no, but communicate before you even start to make sure that what you're concerned with for forced dispatching loads won't, basically won't affect you. So another example is if you don't want to run snow. Another example of someone who'd said, oh, is it forced dispatch? I don't want to run any mountains. Maybe that's what you're going to say. Well, if you're in a division that runs out west, we can't prevent that. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to throw chains. It means you need to know how to throw chains and that you have to carry chains. It doesn't mean you need to throw them, or it doesn't mean you can't park the truck, is what I'm saying. So if safety is your concern, you just have to communicate that with your driver manager. If you flat out don't want to run the mountains, make sure your division doesn't run there. And for the most part, I mean, whether they're the Appalachians or the Rockies, you're probably going to see some with all of our divisions. Using that example. What's another thing that people... But if it's safety related, if it's weather safety related, just communicate that to your driver manager. Because that sometimes that's all it takes, instead of turning it down. George says, so there is an option if you're only wanting to run the Southeast. No. No, not really. So Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida. Nope. We've had that in the past, but it really limited our drivers so much for their miles that it didn't benefit them. There are a few exceptions that we have got some dedicated positions, and that those are exceptions. Those are full, so probably telling you about them is null and void, but those would really be the only exceptions. When we're hiring out of the Southeast, we're hiring with the understanding that you're going to see the Midwest. You're going to see Iowa. You're going to see Illinois and Indiana and Missouri. I mean, that's how the freight is, and we know that because, like I said, we're contracted freight. We're over 95% contracted freight. Now, doesn't mean that in some areas we still can't get you home weekly, but you're still going to run Midwest, like east of Denver for the most part. Chuck Meyer says Northeast. Got you. That we can work with. And as long as you're communicating that with your recruiter ahead of time, then from your recruiter to your driver manager, then we'll be good. Because what happens is when you're talking to a recruiter, by the way, I always do this. This number that's here flying across the screen, 877-433-2537, that telephone number is to the recruiting department. Okay, you can talk to a recruiter and get to know about the company, ask questions. I mean, go wild, ask questions. That's what they're there for. But Chuck, what would happen is when you're speaking to a recruiter and you're letting them know, I don't want to run the New England states. I don't want to run the Northeast. Can you do that? And they will let you know. We have some runs up there, but if that's an area that you're looking to avoid, we can usually accommodate that. Okay, so that's when they will make a note of it, because they'll be filling out a form, what we call our expectation form. They'll be filling that out, and that form just kind of follows you along. It'll come along with you to orientation. Training will be aware of it, because if there's a question that you might have asked, or if there was a what's another example? If there's I don't want to say demand, because but if there's a request, I should say, that you may have had, such as staying out of the New England states, then that information is passed along. And that way, when you're meeting with your driver manager one-on-one, you're having a conversation with your driver manager when you come to orientation, that is going to be part of the conversation. And they'll let you know. We don't do a whole lot of that. We could probably accommodate that. So they can keep you out of there. And that way, they're not dispatching you on a load that goes up there, and then you're saying, oh, I don't want it. And then that snowball effect happens. We like to avoid that ahead of time, and we keep notes and have little reminders for ourselves to keep you out of there. But again, as long as it fits our logistics of the whole company, right? So New England states, that we can do. Denver or Iowa, Chicago, those are areas that I wouldn't be able to say, oh, we can keep you out of, and then have any expectation of miles, because you'd be so, it would just cut into your miles so much, It'd be promising you things that there's no way I could hold up to it. So yeah. Request sounds so much better like that. Yeah. Yes, request and demand. Because that's really what you're saying, right? It's having those expectations, knowing what you're expecting out of us, and making sure that your expectations we can live up to. Because you want to know that ahead of time, right? You don't want to come aboard to Decker, go through our 3-day orientation, go out on your own, you get your truck, you get everything situated just the way you want, and then you find out, oh, we go into an area maybe that you don't like to do, or you're running freight that you don't like to run. That's why you always ask the questions. We're here to answer them, so feel free to ask. But having those conversations ahead of time are fantastic, and then you're just kind of following along. So speaking of freight that we haul and type of freight and stuff, with the refrigerated division, we haul a lot of meat, produce. Meat, we'll do chicken, beef, pork, not swinging meat. Is that even a thing anymore? Anyways, but we do a lot of meat. We have alcohol, pretty much anything refrigerated, you guys. A lot of ice cream. Gotta love those loads. What else? Then we also have, so that's, pretty much everything refrigerated on the refrigerated side. Hello. But then we also have the flatbed side, wallboard or sheetrock, steel beams. This is building supplies. For the most part, building supplies. We'll have some one-offs that are like the interior of, and I shouldn't say one-offs because we have them. They're just not as common. So interiors of like truck washes, things like that, we'll have them. We don't do a lot of oversize, if any, oversize or heavy loads. We don't do that. But it's mostly building supplies, sheetrock or wallboard, steel beams, coils, lumber, things like that. Yeah. And like I said before, when it comes to tarping and securing, we go through the tarping, the load securement class, and walk through it, show you, demonstrate, and then you're hands-on at that point. So then you dive in. It's kind of nice because we have the inside shop that you can tarp and secure, learn how to do it without, if it's bad weather out, you don't have to be out there learning the process. It's learning inside. Yeah, for those of you who might be a bit intimidated by the Midwest weather. Yeah. Let's see. That kind of gives you an idea of some of the available positions that we have. Again, you guys, I cannot stress enough, if you have questions, please ask. That's why we do these lives, because we want to make sure that you have the information ahead of time instead of being blindsided by something. We just want everything. We want to make sure that we're a good fit for you, and vice versa. Now, for benefits, Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's an 80-20 plan. We have dental and vision on top of that. We have a 50% match on the 401k. All of those benefits start after 60 days. I almost said 90, but it changed. It's now 60 days. And our prescription plans are great, by the way. I brag about them quite often, especially this last year, because they're $0 copays. If you've got a generic, it's a $0 copay. If you use pretty much any pharmacy except for CVS and Walgreens, those are the only exceptions for that $0. And then we have brand name and some specialty drugs that are also $0. You just have to go through a different route. So instead of getting it there at the pharmacy, you order those and get them approved that way. It's just a different different copay system. So, but still, $0 copays available on that. Can save you a bundle if you're someone who has a prescription that you're on. I guess you kind of subscribe to it. If you're doing it online, right? Speaking of online, we do have Doctor on Demand, which is like a virtual doctor. You guys, that's what I use. So if I am sick, and I was telling someone this the other day, Katie, I think I was telling you, I'm not sick very often, but I swear in the last month and a half, I have been sick 3 times. Lost my voice once, and I don't want to go to the doctor. Because you don't have the energy, right? You're like, oh, it sounds like so much work. Well, if you're in the truck and you're on your downtime, if you're in your sleeper or you're just, away from home, you're not making the doctor's appointment, but you can go on your phone, go on your tablet, and do a virtual doctor's appointment. And if it's something that you need to be prescribed, like I had bronchitis, I needed a prescription for it, and they went and prescribed it, and then all I had to do was go through the drive-thru and pick it up. Easy peasy, right? Much easier. But anyways, there's that. The doctor on demand. We also have short-term and long-term and critical illness and accident disability insurance. So there's lots of supplemental insurances that are available to you too if you want to take advantage of that. Chuck says, so do you guys, when sending, I think the word is out, it's covered by something here. Sending out the dispatch doors, it will come with the rate. Are you talking, okay, so Chuck, are you asking if we're giving you the rate for the lease purchase? Because usually what happens is it doesn't always come over, what are you saying, Paul? Sorry, I'm just trying to follow what you're saying. But if you're asking if we let you know what the rate is, your driver manager is usually telling you, hey, this is how much the load pays, if that's what you're asking. It doesn't always come over the TransFlow unit. Sometimes it does, but it doesn't always come over. The rate doesn't always. But it's a conversation you can have with your driver manager for sure. They'll let you know. But please keep in mind that our rates, we're not lowballing rates, right? We're not a company that is, we're a stable company. We've been around for over 90 years. We have contracts with all of these customers. We're not chasing the low dollar. So it'll protect us and our stability. It'll protect our owner-operators and our lease purchase drivers on their rates as well because of the way that we have these contracts. That makes a big difference. So you might have a rate, but it might be a short run, but that doesn't mean that you might not have another one that's a longer run that obviously is going to pay more right after that. So they add up. Hopefully I'm answering your question. Lease purchase operators pay any trailer fees? No. Both owner-operators and lease purchase do not pay trailer fees. That's a good question, George. They also don't pay the diesel fuel for the reefers. So both very good questions, George. However, with the reefer fuel for refrigerated, so here's how this works. With the owner-operators, lease purchase drivers, the rate of the pay is 72% of the load. Okay, there we go. Let's make sure I get the words right. So we pay 72% of the load plus the fuel surcharge. Okay? Owner-operator, lease purchase, flatbed, refrigerated. That's what it is. 72% of the load plus the fuel surcharge. Now, Decker pays for the diesel fuel for the refrigerated trailer. So you're getting the fuel surcharge. However, with a loaded reefer unit, you're only getting 90% of the fuel surcharge instead of the full 100. Now, if it's a dry van or if it's a dry load, I should say, then you're still getting the 100% of the fuel surcharge. But because we pay for the reefer fuel, 10% of that reefer fuel, 10% of the fuel surcharge will go towards the reefer fuel. Right, okay, make sure I say that right. Now, for the flatbed, you don't have reefer fuel, so it's 100% of the fuel surcharge for flatbed. Cool? Okay, that makes sense. But no trailer fees, no trailer fees. There we go. Okay, let me kind of lay out the fees for you so that you know. And please know that with lease purchase, we want you to approach it as a business. So if you're an owner-operator, you already know the rules. You know how that works, right? But if you're company and then you're going to start doing lease purchase, you have to earn it. You've got to be with the company for at least 6 months first. There is not a deposit, not a $1,500 deposit or anything like that like we used to have. It's a 6-month requirement and making sure that your scorecard and safety scores are high. If they're not, you're probably not going to do well with the lease purchase program. And so we don't make it available to you if you don't have high enough scores. Okay. And that's not an honoriness. That is a safety. That's to protect you. It is a walkaway lease. So that isn't a problem, but we also want to see you succeed in it. There's no way we're going to put you into a lease purchase if we don't feel that you're going to see success with it. Okay, so you're earning your place in the lease purchase. So you got that 6-month wait. Lease purchase, you've got the truck fees. So you've got $775 a week for the truck payment for flatbed, $750 a week for the truck payment for the refrigerated division. And let's see if I can break this down off the top of my head. Then you have, if you want Epic View Satellite, and this is a perk, but if you want that, it's $16 a week. If you're not, that's fine. But then you've got your insurance. Insurance is based off of the value of the truck. And yes, we have newer model trucks. You might even have the option to do a brand new truck, which with lease purchase is pretty common for us. So you're looking at a 2024 as of now. If that's the case, then the insurance is roughly, I think last I looked, it was about $120, maybe just a hair under $120 a week for insurance. Now we take care of cargo and liability, but you've got your bobtail, your tractor and bobtail, right? And then you've got your escrow account that you're putting into. You've got your maintenance service fees. The maintenance service is $12 cents a mile on the miles that you're running. So that goes towards the maintenance service fee. Now, how that works is if you are, if you're out on the road and let's say you needed your tires replaced or all the batteries or whatever what might be, that maintenance service fee is going to come in and be like, all right, let's take care of these. And so it covers everything that's not on that warranty. That's going to help cover that for you. Because you've got your warranty, obviously it's a new truck, so you've got your warranty, but that maintenance service fee is going to help cover the difference of it. Whether you just started paying for it or you've been paying for it, it's like I don't know, I think of like AAA. But anyways, that's what that is. What am I missing on there? Roughly what you figure is we look at the gross revenue of about, we're looking to make sure that you've got a gross revenue of about $5,500 a week, right? That's you're getting 72% of the gross, the line haul revenue. So you're looking at about $5,500 a week. But then you'll have all of those expenses. Your fuel, right? You get 72% of the load plus the fuel surcharge, but you still have your fuel and your insurance and your truck payment, and all those things are coming out. So and our trucks, I always thought it was, over 8 for the miles per gallon, but I'm talking to some of them are like in the high 6s to low 8s for miles per gallon. So you kind of have an idea what the fuel is. But you're assume half of what your gross revenue is, okay? And that way you can put away extra and know that you've got that much to work with. It gives you a good idea. Yes, it can be done in the Decker shop. And then, of course, we do have because most of our trucks are Peterbilts, we have some Volvos and we have some Freightliners. And then depending on what if it's under warranty and it needs to be going to a shop, then, of course, we'll help make those arrangements. We have 24/7 roadside support, your maintenance and support staff behind the scenes taking care of it. So you're not having to make those calls and make those arrangements and try and figure out where the heck to go or what's on, what recall areas or whatever. Our shop and maintenance department will help you through that. Yes, you have special rates at the house repairs in the shop. Yeah, we pass on our savings onto you. So if you are going to be using, if you need something, basically, you're going to be getting our rates for it. Yeah, instead of that markup. But again, if it's something that you need, if it's under warranty and it's something that you're needing to go to a Peterbilt shop or something like that, then we will get you there. And usually if it's a recall, that's covered. It's all part of it. But yes, you're welcome. Good questions. I like them. I'm getting a notice saying that the streaming is working hard. So if it's buffering, I apologize for that. Again, no control. Okay, we talked about available positions. We talked a little bit about the benefits and the amenities, some of the running lanes. Do you guys have other questions on what we've got here at Decker and what the process would be? I guess orientation, for those of you interested as an experienced driver, it's a 3-day orientation. You come into Fort Dodge, and normally what happens is we get everything done ahead of time, right? So you'll get pre-approved. You fill out your application online, drivedecker.com. You speak to the recruiter, you get on the same page. They're answering your questions. You're making sure it's a good fit for you. And then we work behind the scenes to get you approved. Whoa, lost my voice there for a second. So we'll work behind the scenes to get you approved, right? We run your assurance, get employment verifications. A lot of times we need to contact your previous companies for employment verifications. That's fine. We'll call them, we'll email them, we will do our due diligence, I tell you that. Now, if for some reason, especially if you're with a smaller company that doesn't have the staff to do employment verifications in a timely manner, they technically have 30 days, but we'll stay on it, I promise that. But if you have pay stubs, W-2s, especially this time of year, to help with the employment verifications, that definitely helps to verify. Now, we still have to verify drug and alcohol and accidents and things like that. So again, we will do our due diligence, but you are definitely making the process easier by providing that information. But normally, we don't need it. Normally, we've got that taken care of, getting the employment verifications, running your PSP report, which is like your pre-employment screening program. It's part of the CSA. It shows if you've had inspections, where you have inspections, if you had any violations, if sometimes there's DOT accidents on there. It doesn't say if you're at fault or not. So if there is an accident on your PSP report, your recruiter will be reaching out to you and saying, hey, you know what? Can you get me an accident report? Or we're waiting for the employment verification from so-and-so company to verify that this is a non-preventable accident. We cannot work with a DOT reportable accident that is preventable within the last 3 years. We also can't work with any major moving violations within the last 3 years. Minimal tickets. So if you have one minor ticket within the last 3 years, you'll be fine. No more than 2 in the last 3 years. Same with incidents. So that kind of gives you an idea of qualifications to work for us. And we can work with age 21 on up with a valid Class A CDL. And I've already talked about the different divisions and the requirements there. And then we also have, so what am I missing for ahead of time? Your application, we'll do our due diligence, MVR, all that good stuff. And then once you're approved, your recruiter is giving you a holler and saying, okay, what's your start date? You probably already talked about it, but what are you looking at for a start date? We start orientations on Mondays. It's a 3-day orientation. We pay you $500 for completing orientation, but before you even get here, we are making arrangements for transportation, rental car or a flight, depending on where you're coming from. But it's normally a rental car. We take care of the gas and the rental car, those arrangements. We also set you up for a physical and both a urinalysis and hair follicle drug test before you get here. Now, you can't always get that done ahead of time, but our goal is to get it done ahead of time. And if you have a current physical, we might just be able to use that one. If it's good for at least another 6 months, if it's at least a year physical, it's good for another 6 months. You'll be fine. We'll just have you send over the long form so that we can get it signed off on, and you don't have to go through another one. If you're coming up on a renewal, let's just get it done ahead of time. You don't need to worry about it, and we'll make the arrangements. You'll just go and get it taken care of. We'll say, hey, we've got you scheduled at so-and-so place. Go ahead, go in, it's paid for. And then you'll go and take care of your physical and usually your drug test at the same time. If your physical is good, we still need to set you up for the hair follicle and urinalysis ahead of time. And we'll make those arrangements as well. Then, once you're done with that, you have online orientation. This is the prerequisite, I'll say, for orientation in Fort Dodge. It's a couple of videos followed by questions. So videos, questions, goes over the history of Decker. Get to know us a little bit. Like, let's make sure that you know a little bit about the company that you're coming aboard. And you've had multiple conversations with the recruiter by this time, but you will also know some of our policies and procedures and kind of get to know the processes, right? And then, again, that's usually in video format, and then followed by a couple of questions, 3-4 questions maybe, and then moving on to the next module. Once you've completed that, then when you arrive in Fort Dodge, you'll have a lot of that done. And then it's just the online, and then it's just the in-person orientation where you've got your trainers there going over a lot of the details, the training department, I should say. And they'll go over more policies and procedures, but more so the processes than anything. And you'll meet with the different departments. You'll learn more about our benefits, about payroll. By the way, you get paid every Friday, direct deposit. I don't know if I mentioned that. Get your paperwork in Tuesday, get paid on Friday. And you'll learn more about the amenities in the truck. You'll meet with the maintenance department. You'll get our workbook. This is a go-to that you can refer back to. You're not filling in any of this work. Like, it's provided. It's like a informative workbook, not a like fill in the blank workbook. Okay. Katie's already filled in the blanks for you. A little teamwork. So yeah, it's got information from all of the different departments. It has the contact information that will help you quite a bit. It'll also kind of break down some of the logging and making sure that you understand the hours of service. It has our different drop lots and locations on where to drop the trailers. Because one thing that's really important, and especially when it comes to the maintenance of the equipment, and if you've seen our equipment, you know that maintenance and quality equipment is very important to us here at Decker. But one thing that I should mention is when you're going into one of our terminals or one of our drop lots, we want to make sure that it's a smooth process for anybody coming in. So a trailer that is empty will be parked in one spot. A trailer that is empty but needs work, like if it needs some maintenance, it has some maintenance issues, then it'll go into another spot where our maintenance staff will know to go and take care of that right away. And it's usually tagged, right? So there's a process. These are the things that you'll learn during orientation to make sure that it's better for you and better for the rest of our professional drivers here at Decker when it comes to efficiency and equipment maintenance and all of that. We don't want you to get your hands on a trailer that needs repair, and when you're ready to rock, and all there is a trailer that, oh, look at that, somebody forgot to report it. We don't want that. So we have processes in place. Please follow those so that we can provide the best service to you, okay? Because remember, we are your support, and we can only be as good as you communicate to us, though. So that's important. But every different terminal location is going to be specified in where, let's see if I can find one of these, like out of service trailers, where to park them, where to park when it's just the tractor and not the tractor trailer. If you are a tractor and trailer, where to park. All of that's detailed out so it's easy to find, and it'll, again, so that we can take care of you in a more timely manner, get you in, get you out, get you rolling, right? Yes. Chuck says, if I have to start as a company driver before going lease, can a person pick a new truck? Once you go into lease, yes. If you, when you're starting out as a company driver, I most definitely cannot promise you a brand new truck. And to be honest with you, I'd be very surprised if you got a brand new truck coming in as a company driver. That said, I don't want you thinking you're going to be getting something like a 2019 or 2018 or something older than that. Absolutely not. Our trucks, the oldest right now, are 2020s, and those suckers are getting taken out of there and sold as fast as possible. I mean, most of our trucks are 21, 22, 23, and 24s. So as a company driver, you're probably going to get one that's a year or two old, right? But then when you transition into the lease purchase, yes, you can definitely get a new truck at that point. We have a lot of drivers who will choose the truck that they're in, and if they're in one that's a couple of years old, instead of a 4-year lease, oh, that's what I forgot to mention, it's a 4-year lease term. So instead of a 4-year lease term, you're looking at probably a 2-year lease term. And we do have balloon payments at the end. So you can either extend the lease payment or the lease agreement for another 2 years or whatever it is that you have left on your payment. It's usually a $97,000 balloon payment, or pay it in one lump sum, which we do have a lot of professional drivers who do that, or you can roll over into a new truck. So you've got your 4 years, and instead of paying the balloon payment, instead you lease a new truck yet again, and that way you're always under warranty. So it depends on the individual and how you want to do that. But normally when you're coming in as a company driver, you're not going to get a brand new truck. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It's just not as common as getting one that's a year or two old. But again, they're all very well maintained. Mr. Corbin Waite, how are you? It's been a while. Corbin says, Decker takes care of their equipment like I've never seen. Miss you guys. Oh, I love it. Corbin, I hope you're doing well. Looks like you're doing well. I've been watching you. You're like, that's creepy. Thank goodness for TikTok, right? Awesome. Good to see you, bud. Thank you so much for the kind words. But yeah, Chuck, hopefully that answers your question. Picking a new truck as a lease purchase, absolutely. Absolutely. That's normal. But it's funny though when they get comfortable in their truck and they're like, nope, I want this one. This one. I know it's a year old, or I know it's 2 years old, or whatever it is. I want this one. It's up to you. All right, you guys, I have probably kept you on long enough. But as always, if you have more questions, get a hold of the recruiters. That's what we're here for. 877-433-2537. I'll be back next week at noon Central, so you can hit me up then. Otherwise, you can find us on Facebook, 4 p.m. Central on Mondays. And then, of course, we do our pop-ups on TikTok. Corbin says, when you guys getting the yellow Pete's back? We have some. And actually, I thought we weren't going to be getting any more. But, I definitely still see them. Not as many, but I still see them. Yep. All right, you guys be good, be safe, and enjoy the rest of your week. You take care.